And we thank you for joining us. I'm Adam Beam. We start with international news as overnight the United States military forces successfully completed an operation in Venezuela, removing Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro from the country and taking him to New York, where he now faces charges of narco-terrorism and drug trafficking, which were originally charged back in March of 2020. Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, was also taken from the country. President Donald Trump held a press conference Saturday morning from his residence in Mar-a-Lago, Florida, where he detailed what's now going to happen with Maduro. Take a look.
Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. It's Jay Clayton for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens.
President Trump released this picture of Maduro aboard the USS Iwo Jima on his social media platform Truth Social. The president says that no U.S. troops were killed in the operation. Now, the Venezuelan government that is left in the country has responded to this operation by the United States. The Venezuelan vice president on Venezuelan state TV said, quote, "We do not know the whereabouts of President Nicolás Maduro and the First Lady, Celia Flores." She continued by demanding immediate proof of life from Maduro and the First Lady. Meanwhile, the Interior Minister of Venezuela called for global condemnation, saying, quote, "We expect the world to speak out against this attack, or will you? The international organizations, the global bodies publicly acknowledge your complicity in the invasion," end quote. He also urged people to stay calm. However, pictures and videos have now been released of lines of people waiting to get into packed supermarkets across the country. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also spoke Saturday morning on Maduro. Here's what he had to say.
Nicolás Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight.
Rubio continued saying that the president wants to get along with everybody, but not to play games with this administration. Now, how exactly did we get to this point? Well, the conflict between Venezuela and the United States can be traced back to the 1990s. Specifically, in 1992, Hugo Chavez led an unsuccessful coup d'etat in the country. However, he would later be elected president in 1998, taking power in 1999. He would remain in office until 2013, when he would pass away, and then be succeeded by Maduro, who narrowly won the 2013 election. In 2018, Maduro's re-election would be disputed as the United States severed diplomatic relations with the country, deeming the government to be illegitimate. This would officially take place in January of 2019. They began recognizing opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president until early in 2023. Pressure then ramped up earlier this year when the United States began striking drug trafficking boats and seizing oil tankers, which they say were linked to Venezuela. Now, across the United States and the world, Venezuelans have been celebrating the capture of President Nicolás Maduro. In South Florida, crowds gathered to celebrate the overnight U.S. military operation. Dozens waved flags, chanted, and sang the Venezuelan national anthem. People in the crowd said that the ousting of Maduro is the first step towards a free and democratic Venezuela. Here in Corpus Christi, members of the Venezuelan community held their own demonstration at Brewster Street on the south side. Take a look.
And for us, it's a very, very special day. You know, we're very happy, we're very optimistic, and, you know, we are expecting that the American population will help the Venezuelan people to get the freedom that we deserve.
Now, as for Maduro, he's expected to reach New York sometime on Saturday. Attorney General Pam Bondi shared a statement on social media stating that he will face the full wrath of the United States justice system. According to people briefed on the matter, a team of FBI agents were with the U.S. Special Forces who carried out the operation. General Dan Kane, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, detailed the operation.
And the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons.
Kane continues saying that while flying in, one of the aircrafts was hit while flying in, but remained flyable throughout the mission. Now, what's next for Venezuela? According to the president, the United States will now run the country.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
The president then continued on by stating that they won't want someone else to get in and have a similar situation to what they have now, stating that the next leader must have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. The president also talked about the oil in the plan for that.
We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country.